Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, I almost forgot that the show was on because I'm trying to get a hold of my kids to tell them to turn down the damn TV upstairs because I can hear it all the way in the basement and I have my earbuds in. So I may have to, in a moment, you'll hear me tell one of my kids to go upstairs. But before then, because that would put us above ground, and that makes absolutely perfect sense on a day like today because right now I'm below ground in my basement at our bar. But we've decided to get above ground, and to get above ground, we have to have a man who knows what it's all about to be above the ground. Matter of fact, he's even got a podcast that tells you how to get above the ground. So above the bar is going to get above the ground, and today joining us all the way from like 30-minute drive from the house. I'm thinking, like, I don't know why we didn't, like, if it wouldn't have been just creepy to invite some stranger to my house, we probably could have just done this. But joining us all the way from about 30 minutes away, we got Mr. Tim Patrick.
Well, thanks, man. Great little intro you got there.
You like that? I told you, I never have a clue. People don't believe me. Like, I have no idea what my intro is going to be. They're like, you write those down. I don't know anything. It just happens. So, well, I appreciate you showing up, brother. I mean, it was pretty wild. Like, we realized in this process, please go tell your brother to close that door. I know you heard me saying it. So why, if you heard me, why? See, don't have children, folks. They hear you, know you that they heard you, but yet they don't do shit when you ask them to. So, but Tim's joining us. Before we get into what Tim's got going on with Above the Ground and with his book, let's go ahead and knock some things out here. Over my right shoulder, we've got Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you're supporting, something you believe in, maybe you wrote a book, maybe you got a podcast, maybe you're trying to get an organization together to help support folks, whatever it happens to be, you can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, even our email. Everything is the Above the Bar podcast. Send me a message. I'll let you know where to send the sticker. Free advertising. We'll throw the sticker up on the big board. We'll let everybody know about what you've got going on, get you a little bit of publicity for what you have happening. But talk about things that we could have happening, things that are going on for us, things that are happening in our lives. Let's talk about our sponsors, Budget Blinds of East Greenbush and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York. Tim, do you have blinds in your house? It looks like you got some nice. We got behind you. Is that blinds? I can't tell.
I just got some. Not here. I got curtains in here.
Got curtains, drapery. Well, that's a perfect thing to talk to those guys about because
they have it all.
They have it all. They got blinds, they got shades, they got drapery, they can do valances. Everything that you order from them. Here's the biggest thing, folks, is it is custom made. They'll come to your house, they show you the product, they install the product for you, they work everything out with you. It's all in your home. It's not, let me go to the store, pick up a swatch, go back to my house. Hopefully it matches. You're not being charged for somebody just to measure your windows and you hope they get that right. You're not being charged for somebody to just show up to your house and tell you, well, it's $35 for me to show up, and if you purchase something, we'll take it off the price. None of that BS. Their in-home consultations are free. Their measurements are free. They're going to show you what the product looks like in your home. They're going to help you come up with a design, whether it be blinds, shades, draperies, even, you know what a plantation shutter is?
I do not know.
That's shutters that go in your house.
I think, okay. Are they like, I don't even know. Like they swivel? Is that
they have the louvers?
Is that a good word? Yeah, the louvers. Okay.
Go up and down. All those different things. So look, folks, if you're in the capital region, reach out to Budget Blinds of Hudson or Budget Blinds of East Greenbush and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie. Right now, they're running a sale. Buy two window treatments, get the third one free. That's right. Buy two window treatments, get the third one free. That's Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie and Budget Blinds of East Greenbush. All right. All the stuff's done, Tim.
Awesome.
It's all done.
You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills. The bar is open. We're ready to make things happen. So let's start right here. So you've got your own podcast, and you copied my name, which I because we both have. You copied my name, and I understand that I'm a lot of people's hero. It's a joke, folks. Tim and I met. We've crazy enough. Like I said, y'all have heard me talk about the Podfather. Herb, Tim knows the Podfather, which is crazy to me. So, but tell us a little bit about your. Let's start with your podcast, brother. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Well, it's basically just two dudes talking two not so normal dudes talking not so normal things like mental health. Will, my co-host, co-creator, we've been friends for long time, very long time. Music pals. He's a musician, so we have that element to the show as well. But we just, we have kind of like you. We have these real conversations that basically we try to get the conversation started. So we also throw in tips and tools to, each episode has, it's all mental health related, but each episode has, somewhat of a concept or title, I guess you could say. So we kind of go off of that, and then we also bring on guests every other week. We have everybody from we speak with professionals in the field. We speak with therapists. We speak with everyday people and people that have lost lives to suicide. We've talked to numerous parents that have lost children to suicide, and it's basically because, again, we have to get the conversation started to decrease the stigma. And if you can talk to somebody that has lost a child to suicide and hear their side of it, that can be a survival guide to another parent out there.
That's a powerful conversation.
It's a very powerful conversation, but a lot of people want to talk about it, but they don't. And it's like, here it is, we're going to get real, and we're going to throw it out there and just get real with it. And, it's not to like, push somebody into talking. It's always, they agree to talk about these situations, but this is real life. You don't,
absolutely,
you can't really pick up too many videos on how to deal with loss of a loved one.
So, I want to kind of go back to that though. I mean, this isn't a typical topic that you just kind of jump into and you go, I think I'm going to do a show on suicide today. That's not how that conversation goes. So, for you, what was your catalyst to kind of say, hey, I really need to do a show about suicide?
It's not specific to suicide, but we do talk about it a lot.
Okay. All right.
A lot of that stems from my own personal crisis and surviving through that, living with suicidal ideation. And there was also another key factor was I lost a very good friend of mine who I worked with for over 20 years to suicide, and it was like we had talked about it before this happened, but then that event happened, and it was just like, this really needs to be talked about, and because I went through, if anybody's local in the 518, I did a 5-week program at Four Winds.
Oh, okay.
And they taught you all these different kind of coping skills, and they introduced me to DBT, dialectical behavior therapy.
What is
and
that?
So it's I don't know, have you ever heard of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy? It's just a certain
so here's therapy to me. It's Freud or suck it the fuck up.
Right.
Like I don't mean to.
No, that's fine.
Don't think that I'm
and that's why we talk. That's why, and it a little bit more on the, and we don't like, we're not specific to men's mental health, but we're two guys that do talk openly, and we get vulnerable because of that. It's like we didn't know any better. We were told to suck it up, and no one told us any different. So that's what we did, right? But you can only do that until it doesn't work anymore, and then you find yourself in a hole without any skills or anything that was ever taught to get out of that hole. And those were the skills that I learned at Four Winds. And when I learned them, I was like, wow, this stuff really helped me. I continued my education. I just like took a deep dive and
Okay.
just continued to learn. Um, just kind of took every like book that was available that I wanted to, ingest. I ingested it, and it just kind of more and more education on it, and that way I can, because if it helped me, I'm like, I'm not really that special, so it can probably help somebody else. Again, these are things that nobody wants to talk about. We don't learn them in school. Most of our parents don't know them, and we just were never learned. You know what I mean? I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm 40 years old at the time, and I'm like, so it's okay to have emotions and feel them. Like
No,
that was the first time I had heard that in my
no.
my life. You know,
How
it
dare
sounds silly,
you?
right? Exactly. How dare you? But I'm like, it makes sense. And as I'm learning it, I'm like, I always like to find the like something underneath, like why. Like people are like, oh, do yoga and do. It's like, yeah, okay, great, but like why? I would like to know the why. And there's a lot of science behind a lot of these things that do work, and that can help people.
Yeah, and, it's funny that the stuff you're talking about, and a lot of this, what it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, and what I like about it is most of this sounds like it's drug free. It it's
I
it,
mean,
it's what is it? It sounds like it's more like conversational. Get it out in the open.
yeah, I'm a big believer. Well, look at there's also people that live with persistent, severe persistent mental health issues,
Right.
and that's a whole other level that yes, there needs to be medication, you need to be safe, and even, you know, I think if you have mental health challenges in your life, you may need medication to bring you down, but it's not something that you need to continue the rest of your life. You may need to, it may help you the rest of your life. But if it can help you enough to where you can become baseline and more, less emotional, more rational, and concentrate on learning these skills, and if you can adapt these skills and put them into practice, into your daily practice, and make them routines, that can help you tremendously. Like just getting a good night's sleep, a good meal,
Amazing power of that.
eating right. It's such power. Going out in the sun and taking a walk in nature, same thing.
Well, I think, but I think. Okay, so I was just having this conversation today, and
Hmm.
I'm curious of somebody who has taken. So I've never taken a deep dive into it. I'll be the first to tell you that most of my experiences with mental health treatment are going to be family members that have done it, that have really, it's been a big part of their lives. And I'm going to be the horrible person for a minute and say that some of them, I feel like mental health treatment is an addiction for them. Um,
Sure,
Oh,
that's not
look, hey,
horrible. I mean,
Keith, I'm sorry. I didn't even see my buddy Keith popped up. That's me. He's so no, it's absolutely not. You bottle up and repress the emotions and conduct yourself like an adult. Uh yeah, CBD is talk therapy. That that's what I do. So and Keith has battled demons upon demons in an interesting way, but is there a point though? So I like the communication therapy. I like that idea. I hear a lot of vets being involved with alternative, like, hey, DMT, let's microdose shrooms. Oh, well, I'm gonna smoke a lot of weed, and I always feel like those are band-aids on sucking chest wounds. You're
they
not
they
you're not
can be, but they're also like, I know ketamine. We just had a guy who, first responder, severe PTSD, and he went through the whole ketamine treatment, and it did work for him. There's things that do, and that's one of the main problems with this is it's not a one size fits all.
Okay.
We have to stop treating symptoms and treat the person. But I'm with you. I am big because I know for me, a lot of my problems are self-inflicted. It's my thoughts. So it's thoughts, perceptions, and feelings. And it's those things can wreak havoc. If you have a different perception on things, like, hey, you know what? Like today sucks. And people are like, oh, Monday's bad. So in your head, now you're saying, oh, Monday's bad. Monday's terrible. Your brain is hearing that, and it's going to pretty much tell you, guess what? Yeah, Mondays are terrible. Keep saying it to yourself because you're going to repeat it and it's going to come true. I mean,
Eh,
it's real. Like these are thoughts that we have. And if you have enough negative thoughts, not only will they come true, but you're going to look for things to basically, make them fit the agenda that it's true, right? You're going to look for the negative instead of looking for the positive. It's something that you have to really, like you had said before about like not taking a deep dive. It's like we all have mental health. For me,
right.
personally, I have to live it. It's like if there's some people out there that go to the gym and they eat right and they do different exercises and they go to the gym like 3 or 4 times a week. It's the same thing. It's
Yes,
just I
sir.
do it for my mind. I do it for up here because I need to. If I don't, like, shit can happen. Shit can go wrong, and I can hit a wall or whatever it may be. I need to kind of be proactive personally and perform routine maintenance, as I like to call it. I mentioned it in the book. It's like you have a car or a motorcycle or whatever, a truck. You perform routine maintenance on that vehicle, right? You check the oil, you change the oil, you put decent gas in it or whatever. You check the air pressure in the tires, the air filter, all these things. But we as humans don't have this light that pops up and says, "Hey, check engine." If you're not paying attention, you could trip, and if you're still not paying attention, you're going to trip over that same item multiple times.
Absolutely. Well, and we're going to get into your book here soon because I liked how you said it's not a self-help book or
It's a help. Yep, it's a
a
help
help
yourself.
yourself book,
Yeah,
which I like that. But and I agree with you have to find what works for you. But I agree with there's a lot to this that I agree with, and it's that the one size and Keith says it. A lot of people use mental illness that they don't necessarily have as an accountability buffer, keeping them from, being called on their bullshit. And I think that's absolutely right. Like if I told you, "Hey, look, man, I'm clinically depressed, you just got to bear with me." Every time you talk to me, whether I was truly diagnosed with that or self-diagnosed, you would remember that and you would eggshell it with me. Well, I got to be careful with Murph. And I can use that to say, well, it's hard to call me out on my real bullshit if I use this other piece to it.
which is terrible because it gives other people that live with these challenges a bad rap, I guess you could say. And here's the piece of that I want to add is like, so you say that you have this and you have in your struggle. Okay, so I'm going to take that into account. But if I personally decide to walk in eggshells, that's my choice. See, we have to have accountability for ourselves because if you say that, I'm going to take it into consideration, but I'm still going to be me. I'm not going to walk on eggshells. I'm going to take that in consideration and be like, hey, maybe ask a few questions if you're cool with it. But otherwise, like, it's not my job to manage your emotions and
Thank you.
to tiptoe around your triggers. It's just not. It's not my job.
Folks, it's not everybody else's job to make sure you're happy. That's not in my agenda.
No,
Never in my agenda is to
it's
make
actually
you happy. I'm
what
not
that
gonna be a douche if I don't have to be,
right. What
but
that
it's not
person
my
is
job to make
doing
you
though
happy.
is actually making things worse because it's manipulation at its core. You're manipulating somebody to do what you want them to do. I can't read that, so you may have
So
to
he
read
says, "I make everyone experience my autism because if I gotta live with it, so do you, buddy."
it.
Folks, if you've never seen Keith, go check out all of his Facebook, YouTube. He's got Instagram stuff. He's a funny dude. Lives out in Kentucky. Great dude. Keith, you missed it, man. I just saw your boy Tyler Childers in concert. But Keith's a great dude. funny guy. But I like what you say though about one size doesn't fit all. So I'm a I've been talking about him last couple shows because I finished the book recently. I'm a David Goggins
Yes.
guy. Um, my other two are Mark Mason, um, the subtle art of not giving a fuck,
Giving a fuck. Yep.
and everything is fucked. A book about hope.
Yep.
Those three books for a guy like me fit perfectly,
Exactly. They're very relatable.
and they helps me stay out of my own head. And when things aren't going the way I think they should, it helps me to go, I got to keep moving. Like my wife and I said we were in Tennessee at a convention, so we're walking the convention floor. My knee hurts, and my wife was like, maybe we should take a break. My knee hurts. I was like, that's just your body telling you, okay, there's something going on. Keep moving, keep moving. And you know what? By the time I kept moving, my knees didn't hurt no more. And that was that. And I feel like that with business, with mental health,
There is a lot. I mean, like I said,
you
it's a
have to do
lot
it.
of our perception. It's a lot. And it's, you're being a vet. So thank you for that, by the way. But being a vet, you're kind of thrown into learning to adapt. Basically, you're in these adverse situations and you don't have a choice but to adapt. And
Yeah.
that's and exactly. I don't think we're not taught to. We some people out are walking around there thinking that other people should adapt so that they will be okay, and it's just the world just doesn't work that way. We need to take accountability for ourselves and have responsibility for our own actions. It's like I may be feeling something, but what I'm feeling may not necessarily be true.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Tim. Do you think that's a result of the trophy generation?
I think that was a variable. I think it was even before that though. I think that it's been happening a long time. I think it's been happening a long time. There's a lot of variables, in my opinion. The education system is
I
a
don't want your
variable.
opinion. I want the facts, Tim. Tell me.
I don't have facts, man. I don't I go by what I see and how I like I said I like to dig down and see why the machine's working the way it is and how many cogs and what cogs are missing and through my research that's definitely one of the pieces, you know.
Well, I agree with you because I think when you get into, I think it's a trickle down from that though, because if I told you, hey, trophy, 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 I need that sense of self satisfaction, and then we came along and we said, hey, we're not going to give everybody a trophy anymore. That we learned that was a bad idea. Now we have all these people running around going, wait a sec, you're not rewarding me for showing up.
Right.
And we have an entire generation of people who are employed who were told, here's your trophy for everything you do. Now we have them out into a workforce that we're sitting.
Right, that's scary.
You're in a workforce where no one gives a shit.
No.
Like, show up and do your job and leave. I'm not here to make friends.
Right. Right.
Where, but I think that's our generation. I'm 47. Where we're like, yeah, I'm not. I'm here to work. Like,
Right.
there's two dudes in the warehouse that I like, and that's because we both like the same sports teams. And even those dudes, I'm not inviting them into my house. It's that kind of stuff.
There's also a balance to it because you don't want to go too far on the other end as well. And there's that whole like if you don't win, if you're not in first, you're last, which is also on the other end of that extreme. They're both two extremes. So to me, you want to walk the middle path with everything. Like everything's balanced. You want to walk the middle path.
I would agree with that. It can be said, heck, guess what, folks? You may not like the Bible. Guess what it tells you? Everything in moderation. It talks about that and the same idea. And Keith, you're absolutely right. We went from battle fatigue as a language to everything is PTSD. And then when not everybody could have PTSD, they all had to find a reason to have it because, well, I want that too. I just recently saw a thing and all right, remember I told you it only gets to be one asshole, right? So I recently saw something, and I'm because we're talking about mental health, and mental health is a big part of the above. I always want to call it the Above Ground podcast, but it's just Above Ground podcast. It's just because of mine being the
It's okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
big part of above ground podcast. I recently saw this. We have a large population currently that has gender dysphoria. They all talk about gender dysphoria. This is a very big thing. We can go back 10 years ago and it was you might have heard about it, you might have known someone. I can go back to when I was very, very young and a friend of my aunt's actually had full-blown surgery in the 80s
Wow.
for it, which is very, very rare. Um, but there's a whole theory right now that this is do you remember in the 70s everyone had multiple personality disorder through the 70s into the 80s, and then it kind of disappeared. You never hear of it really anymore. Does it exist? I still think it's a real thing.
It does. I think they call it something different now. Is what
Right.
happened.
Well, they have it does have a different name, but one of the things that I think about with this is, and I wanted to get your thoughts since you do talk to a lot of these professionals. Does mental health have a and I don't really have a better way of putting it, and I just was using that one because it's something that you hear about a lot with all the, it's kind of the buzzword within schools and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
Does mental health have a flavor of the month? Meaning that society kind of attaches to a thing and says, well, I want to have that so I can get that attention too. When there's real people that are suffering from these things and really dealing with these things, but society as a whole feels like, well, this would be cool for me to have. Let me go ahead and attach myself to it. And I don't have it because I know people
Right.
who really do have it, have really struggled with it, and they're in the fight
Sure.
to help themselves. But then we get these people that are like, well, I'm just going to dress like this and then tell everyone I feel this way for the next couple years. It's like I was really into hair bands. Now I'm into grunge.
I think it's less of a mental health as a whole saying flavor of the week and more of a culture. It's
Okay.
the culture
I
and
didn't just, I just,
society.
folks, please
And
don't
then
get
the
that.
media no, and I think the media takes things and makes it 10 times worse and pushes it down people's throats, and they hear the word trauma and they're like, oh well, that sounds like me or what. And I think this is my personal opinion. I'm certainly not the spokesperson for mental health. This is my personal opinion. Is it all of it, all of social media, all this attention on all these things is it's a self-love deficit is what it is. So if I feel unworthy and I take a picture or I make a video and I've got 200 likes, well, guess what? I might be worthy then. But then how many likes is worth? You know what I mean? Who determines how many likes? And then if I post a selfie today that gets 200 likes, tomorrow I do it and that may only get 50 likes. So now is my worth down? It's like, no,
Where's my
none of that
dopamine hit
shit
at?
right. None of that shit matters. None of it matters at all. None of it. Not a single thing of it. What matters is what you feel, and if you feel it inside, and it's how it translates to your outside. If you can combine those two and make that kind of balance happen, that's all that matters. Just follow your path. Again, you don't be an asshole to anybody. You don't have to be disrespectful. Just be kind to yourself. Be as kind as you can to others, and just follow your own path. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing, and nobody has to like what you're doing.
I don't think people understand that. Eh, that is the epitome of the book, the subtle art of not giving a fuck. Uh, that is every bit that book. So you've read that book, I take it.
I have, but I didn't take it from that, but I have read it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's it. That is absolutely everything I got out of that book was like, yup. Now yours is like, make sure I got the right one. Psychology and count. Is that the right one?
No, the name of the book?
Yeah. What's the name of yours, Tim?
Never underestimate the power of you.
That's I have like
I
look,
don't know if you
folks,
can see it.
Tim Tim kept trying to send me this book, and I'm a horrible host. I'm a horrible person.
No, no.
He tried to send it to me like 10 times. I'm like, "Bro, your link is not coming through." Um, I don't know. I think Keith is telling me that, he's going through gender dysphoria. I'm not sure. It stems from people who have a lack of culture or other interesting aspects about themselves, and they decide to gravitate towards one of these personality defects that gets attention. Great host, iffy person.
I think I think that as humans, we all crave. I mean, we're gatherers. We all crave that connection. And if like you were said before, 80s band, 80s hair metal or now grunge, it's
Right.
because maybe that grunge movement was here and everyone was wearing
Flannels
plaid
and band shirts.
flannels. Yes. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to, because if I fit in, it's not like a, I guess, don't look at it as a negative or anything like that. Just take all that bias out of it and just go, hey, you know what, they're trying to fit in. I think what happens is when they push it on other people, that's when it becomes a problem. My personal freedom is I don't really care to have it done, but if you want to do it, that's fine, but don't push it. Don't bring it into the school district and teach kids and all these different things.
Brianna says past her bedtime. Brianna, she says it's past her bedtime, but she's hanging out with us. Thank you, Brianna. I appreciate you popping in and finding us. But it is so. What kind of you've got the show, you've got things you've dealt with in your life. What made you think, well, hell, I'm going to write a book about it?
Well, I never really did think that, to be honest with you. I through my healing journey, I journaling was very helpful for me. So I would start journaling and it for me it was a way to have to like improve my insight on things. So things would happen, I'd write them down and be like, maybe a Monday felt this, and maybe Thursday I was super irritable in the morning, and then be like, oh, well, what happened? Maybe I didn't sleep on Wednesday night. Maybe I didn't eat breakfast Thursday morning, or whatever it may have been. So I just really try to look at like everything, make lists, and so it started off as journaling. From the journaling, I started to make these little memes and designs with like my quotes and certain things because I was like, oh, these are kind of cool. So I would make little designs for that for the podcast and stuff. And one day I started showing them to my therapist, and she's like, these are pretty good. Like, do you have more? And I started showing her stuff. And she goes, you should write a book. And I'm like, nah, no way. I'm not. I Number one, I can't write a book, right? I'm not an author. So that whole story goes on. So I just kept journaling and journaling, and then I would take the journals and kind of cut out the fat, so to speak, and just make these little statements and stuff, and not really do anything with them. Um, and then one day I just decided to do it, sort of for myself. I talk about in the book, I talk about brain gremlins, and it's basically these gremlins that are within our bodies and they infiltrate your brain. And it's going back to how you speak to yourself. They listen, they're with you since birth. So if you're like, oh man, I'm no good, I'm dumb, and I can't do this, guess what? They're listening, and they're just going to repeat it over and over and over, and then you're going to start believing it. So for me, it was to kind of silence the brain gremlins and just go, you know what, I'm going to do this, whether people like it, whether it sells any copies. I'm just going to do it because it's like a tangible item that I can hold and say I did this.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it definitely is a sense of accomplishment. And
Yeah,
again, staying with our theme right now, I think a lot of mental health is a need for a sense of something.
sure,
You know,
absolutely.
I look, I am probably the worst one for all this, Tim. I am because I'm that guy that goes, okay, I got it. You got demons. I I'm not putting all my business out here, but I've lived with my own. I've lived with other people's. Um, I have ripping anxiety from my time in the Marine Corps. Like
I
it's
bet.
stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like it's silly. Like it's so level of silly. And you know what I used to be the guy like, all right, it's coming on. Let me go for a run. Let me hit the gym. And I had an
But
uncle.
that's a proactive, that's a positive thing.
But you know what? It's actually I had an uncle And what, you ready for a mind blower right now?
Yeah.
Had an uncle passed away this year, was, the last of the men on my dad's side of the family. Love my Uncle James, always talk to him, but, we were talking about it. He's like, "Sean, well, I've dealt with it from my time in the Air Force and, in life and everything." I was like, "All right." He goes, "I used to go for a run also." He goes, "Till my doctor told me to stop doing that." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, my doctor told me to stop going for a run when I have an anxiety attack." Thank you, Brianna, I appreciate it. He said, "Stop doing that." He said, "You're already amped up and your energy level is high, so all you're doing is teaching your body that when it's in that state to get even into a higher state so that." And you know what? I see your face. He said what his doctor told him to do was sit down, and we just had a gentleman, Leland Holgate, about 2 weeks ago,
The breath. Yeah, the breath work.
breath work. He
Yeah,
and his doctor, not saying breath work like yoga breath work, but the guy told him, "Sit down, calm your body, relax your body, let it go through the process of what it's doing. Don't fight it and try to like, "Arr," but go through it."
sure.
And
That
I
I understand for
bro,
sure.
it was, do you wanna talk about mind-boggling to me? I started doing that and just kinda being like, "All right, it's hitting me. I'm getting heart palpitations and sucking for air. I must be having one." And I thought about what caused it, and then I started like,
Sure.
instead
Absolutely.
of
Yeah,
going
yeah,
for a
yeah.
run, I could put on 35 pounds. I'm a fat ass now,
But
but
you
I
can
don't.
still, here's the thing, you can still run, but maybe don't use it as an in the moment thing.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying don't run. I'm just like, actually,
Yeah, yeah, no, I know.
I
I'm
have a
just
shirt
saying
that says running sucks.
even
And
for you, but like sometimes what I'll do is even when I'm not feeling like super anxious, what I'll do is even in the morning, what I'll do is I'll tense up everything. Like I'll tense my muscles up and just like
oh, really?
clench and hold it for like 5 seconds, let go and like shake it out and breathe and just keep breathing a little bit. And it kind of releases that. But you're right. You have to be able to sit with it. And I think that goes with all of your feelings, with depression, with any of that stuff. You have to be able to sit with it because eventually it's going to decrease, and like you said, if you like you push on the bar's going to push back at you equally or more, right? So the more you fight, the worse off you're going to be. You just have to kind of let go and let things fall as they may, and don't put judgment on it. Just let go and go, okay, I'm anxious. Don't go, oh man, I hate when I'm anxious. I'm always anxious, because then it's just making it worse. And then if you're like, I wish I wasn't anxious, you're fighting it and it's going to make it worse. Just go, okay, you know what? Here's a good trick. You're in a car, you're driving, and you see the sign on the side of the road. You notice the sign, you read the sign, and then you drive by the sign and you let the sign go and you keep driving. That's it. Just because people come up and they show up at your door, they show up at your bar, doesn't mean you have to let them in. If you don't want to let them in, you don't let them in, but you accept them and say, hey, you know what? I see you there, but you know what? I'm not ready to let you in just now. I'm going to breathe here for a minute and we'll talk.
I love it, brother. I see, that's what I think a lot more people need to understand, that it's, oh, like, even getting into, where some of these emotions come from and where they come from as far as, like, historically.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly, you're absolutely right.
I think a lot of us, we think, like, these are new emotions. "Oh, this is just something created." My bo No, like, I'm I actually met a gentleman many moons ago. He was a double board, whichever one's a MD. Is it psychologist or psychiatrist? Whichever
I
one's got
think,
the MD.
okay, I think I,
I
yeah, I
thought
think it's a psychiatrist because they can prescribe, I think.
admit. So he was a double board psychiatrist that was helping out another Marine, and we were talking about ADD, and this guy broke down ADD in a way to me that I had never heard. And he was like, "I don't understand why they don't allow people in the military with ADD." I'm like, "Well, because you need to fucking focus a little bit, boss." He goes
Yeah,
he
other
goes
people's lives are at stake.
he goes, "No, it doesn't make any sense." He goes, "Do you know where ADD comes from?" I'm like, "Nope." He goes, it comes from our hunter gatherer days. He goes, and when we would see a herd of animals or a group of animals that were running through an area, and you needed to be able to pick out the one that was wounded or that you could hunt, you had to be able to hyper focus and clear your mind of all the other animals so you could focus and deal with that one and then move on to the next task. He explained that to me, and I was like, that makes everybody I've ever known that has ADD, I have kids with it that do that hyper focus thing. That's it. So if you understand where it comes from, you're like, you can actually kind of be a little proud of it in a way and be like, I might have been a badass hunter in the back in the day or something like that.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Change your perspective on it,
It
because you
changes my
if you
everything.
can't change the thing, or you're up against something, okay, you can either try and fight it, or you can try and change it, or you can accept it. If you can't change it, then the only thing you can do is change your relationship to it, change your reaction to it, and that's where the power lies. Because you're
Now,
not going to, certain things you can't change. Like if it's raining out, I can sit there and pout all day and stomp my feet and create stress in my own body because it's raining. But if you really just go, hey, it's raining out,
it,
okay, and
it's
accept it. That's it.
not
You know what?
shit.
Maybe I'll go out and dance in the rain or run, splash in puddles. I don't know, but don't complain about the rain. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I,
we look for things to complain about. We look for things to get angry.
I get, and now Nate has an important question. Do you have a favorite meal that relaxes you?
Me? Do I have a
Yeah,
favorite meal?
meal that relaxes you,
That's a great
like
question.
like a great comfort food. Like when you think about a comfort food that just like brings back nothing but positive, good memories. What is it?
I think it varies, but the first thing that pops in my head would probably be lasagna, or like maybe like a Thanksgiving dinner, with the rolls and the stuffing and the turkey, and yeah.
I like it. I'm gonna go with sour beef and dumplings.
There you go.
Like mom made sour beef and dumplings.
Yeah.
My mom was the only person I know that made that. That was like a very like potatoes and beef and like if you don't like sour foods, like you can't even fuck with that, man. Like
You're Irish, right?
well, Irish and Italian, but yeah,
Okay.
my mom got this recipe from I don't even know who the hell she got it from. She told me once. But I mean, we're talking it had use ginger snap cookies to make this.
Nice.
Like, dude, it's
Nice.
like we always had ginger snap cookies in the house.
There's that sting. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
like it's that bite, that
Yeah, yeah,
heavy
yeah, yeah.
there's
The bite.
like straight vinegar
Vinegar.
and
Yes.
like real potato dumplings, like these
Yes.
heavy, dense potato dumplings in this shit, and you're eating this like straight sour soup. Oh,
Nice.
Nate, when the hell did you have Navajo fried bread tacos? You're from Dundalk. When the hell did you have those? Mm,
I do like a good fish taco, though, to be
yeah,
honest with you.
fish taco. So we're getting close here, man. We're to closing up. So the back to the book for a minute. Show the book again. Let everybody see the book so that nobody misses it. And then for those of you that don't see can't see the book, never underestimate the power of you. It's not a self help book. It is a say it again. It's not self help. It is a
It's a help yourself
self
book.
book. There you go.
Life is a DIY project, and this is a DIY book. It's kind
There
of like blueprints I laid out a little bit, and I say it in the book. Everybody's at different levels. What I think, if you're in the beginning stages, this would be a good book for you, and it's not meant to, but I think it would be most beneficial to like go back and reread it at times too, because um, there's stuff for everyday relatable, people. It's like if you're human and you live with mental health challenges, or if you just have challenges in your life and you need to kind of restructure things and things aren't working out for you the way you would like or the way you had hoped, then yeah, you should try some of this stuff, man. You know, it's I use a lot of it, and you had mentioned before about like anxiety and running and breathing. There's also I think I talk a little bit, mention it in the book, is EFT, which is tapping.
what is that?
It's there's certain point, there's like 10 points. I think people do it on like their wrist or hands, but you can tap, and you tap specifics. It's almost like what is it with the needles there?
Acupuncture?
Yeah, it's similar to that because you're tapping certain parts, and I do it, and I know it sounds corny, but like if I do
No.
it
If it
and
works,
I
why is it
and I
corny?
breathe, like I literally can feel like stuff like it's almost like that deep breath letting it out. That's what I feel when I do it. It works.
Interesting.
And simple like neck rolls and shoulder rolls, just that kind of thing. Like you don't need to go and do like $500 a week workshops. You can go on YouTube and
Yeah,
listen to podcasts. You can watch like
you can listen
certain
to this podcast.
talks, and yes,
Just this one.
absolutely.
There's 180 some episodes. Listen to them. I want to kind of put a mental picture for you right now. You remember Cliff Clavin?
Yeah, yeah.
Nate's my Cliff Clavin.
Okay.
Nate is my Cliff Clavin. I'm part. You're part Stack of Jehovah. Fucking
Cliff
right.
Clavin.
He's my
That's
Cliff
great.
Clavin. I love him to death. He's my Cliff Clavin. He's gonna get his ass whooped again in fantasy football. So so if I want this book, short of the trunk of your car right now, Tim, where can I get a copy of this?
You can go to Amazon and get a copy on Amazon delivered. If you have the Prime, you can deliver it in 2 days or whatever. Just look up Never Underestimate the Power of You. If you're local, or if you just do not want to shop on Amazon, there's a place in Glenville, New York.
Scotia Glenville.
Yep, right on Glenville Road there. The Sages Circle. It's kind of like this metaphysical boutique. They do yoga. They have like different. If you're into like stones and that kind of thing like that, they have a little bit of everything there. But good people, mom and pop store, support that local stuff, and but they have it there.
Look, so Nate's over here getting mad. Look, every year for some fucking reason, and I still think Nick's got the fix in. I only get 2 draft picks in the fantasy football draft. I either get number 1, and that's like every 3rd or 4th year, or I get number 12. That's it. I'm either the first or the last, never any other number. But you know what ends up happening every time, Tim? I finish top 3, if not number 1.
There you go.
So eat shit.
There
There's some therapy for you.
There you go, man. You just follow through and you keep going, and that's what happens.
So getting a hold of the book, listening to the show. Now, how often does your show come out?
Every Wednesday we have a new episode.
You can't do Wednesdays. That's my day. You gotta have to find it.
That's what I thought it was.
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
You can't be doing Wednesdays and having me similar to mine.
And we're both in the 518.
And we're both in the This is a load of book. Tim, what year did you start yours?
Probably after yours. We just hit 4 years, I believe.
Oh, son of a bitch! You got ahead of me.
Really?
I'm June of 2020.
Okay.
Oh, you're ahead of me. All right, maybe
that's right, because you said you're at like 180. I think we're at like 220, 219, somewhere around there.
Now, do you go live with it, or is it
recorded
and then you release it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
We're not professionals.
Look, listen to me. You want to talk about stress and anxiety?
Yes, I know.
Do a live show where at the beginning, so I'll do it actually probably starting tomorrow. I'm not changing to Thursdays, Nate. Wednesday is my day. Fucking Thursday.
That's why I was emailing you like a week ago, like, hey, where's the links? What do I? Because it's my anxiety. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's going to happen?
I get it. But I will start sending out messages tomorrow to all the guests for September. And you've got like 72 hours to respond to me before I've just assumed that you've given up and you're not going to be there. And I am already finding new guests to backfill. And I cannot tell you how many times people have been like 2 weeks out from their show and they're like, hey man, sorry about that. I just saw the email. I'm still good. Hey, sorry about that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I've already replaced you. I'll move you out to January. And they're like, bro, I've already waited 5 months to be on your show. I'm like, should have answered my email. Should have answered it. Sorry. And I'm I'm that guy. Nate always helps me out. Nate has gotten me more guests than I can explain to you.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, he's like my part-time booker when I need people. But
Is
but
he
I,
like Beetle? Is he like he's like the Beetlejuice? Your
yeah,
Howard Stern?
yeah, absolutely. If I need people, I just like I reach out to Nate. Nate's just like they magically fucking appear. The guy's got me. So your show's every Wednesday. You've got 4 years worth of episodes. We've got the book. Do you do any like speaking engagements, anything else that's coming up where people might be able to find you or interact with you? I know you got Instagram and Facebook, they're above ground podcast. You also have it's Timothy Patrick on
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not really. I mean, you're better off going to at Above Ground podcast. To be
at
honest with
above
you,
ground
just
podcast.
yeah. I don't really go online much. I just have it to have it. I think I originally got it a while ago because I actually used to be in a band a long time ago, and
Please
it
tell me
was
it was
just a
ska band. Please tell me it was ska. Was
no.
it a ska?
Sorry, it wasn't.
Oh,
No.
great. Tim Patrick from the ska band would have been so amazing. Been like perfect.
Patrick's actually my middle name.
Oh,
I
okay.
just it's a little on incognito. You know what I mean? I can't
I,
have everybody just reaching out, going, "Hey," I don't need that kind of aggravation in my life.
I understand. And then I saw that you did some pictures with a post recently with one of my favorite people, Gunny Claus.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. He was on. Yeah, he was on the podcast. Like,
Oh, you podcasted with Gunny Claus.
yeah, yeah. He was on the episode of like a month ago. I think it was. Yeah,
That's a good dude right there.
yeah. He's awesome. Yeah, he does a lot of good too, man. Does a
Yeah,
lot of good.
folks, go check out Gunny Claus. That's another guy. I'll plug him. He didn't even know I was going to plug him. That dude goes to every base. He is the new face of Marine Corps Toys for Tots.
Yep.
He wears an all red Marine Corps dress blue uniform, keeps his beard well taken care of, and he's a retired gunny like myself. So go check that dude out. So all the stuff we've talked about, if you had somebody who was maybe they hear this show and they're on the fence about mental health or taking those first steps. Obviously, I think they should buy at least 10 copies of your book,
Yes, at
read
least.
each one,
Hmm.
each copy 10 times to figure out how they should take their first steps. But if you were going to tell someone, hey, here's how you take those first steps into, I don't know if, what's the right term? Is it recovery? Is it treatment? Is it betterment? Like, what's the right term to use? But what's the first steps that you would tell someone if they were moving forward that way?
I think I would say, kind of pair it with like I don't know what you would call it. Whatever I think, whatever word that suits you is what you can call it. Like I don't care what you call it, as long as you make the steps and make forward steps relentlessly. Like the first step is going to be the hardest. So it's just to make that step. Don't even have get rid of any expectations or anything about it. Just put one foot in front of the other because that's the hardest part, right?
Would you
It's just
recommend
taking
seeing
that
a
step.
professional though? Like, would you say, "Hey, go see a professional," or
I mean,
tell
if
your
it
next door
works,
neighbor? Like, I mean, what would you recommend?
I think unfortunately it's individual. If you were up to seeing a therapist, absolutely, I would absolutely. The problem with that is there is in my opinion, there's a shortage of therapists, so it might be a little bit of a wait. So if you're in a predicament, just understand that you're going to have to wait a few weeks, and hopefully they accept your insurance and all that other
Right.
stuff. But yes, definitely talk to a professional. If you don't want to talk to a professional, um, actually, there I do. If you're local, I do peer groups at the Sages Circle in
Oh,
Scotia
nice.
Glenville. Yeah, so anything like that, find a podcast, find a positive group on Facebook that you can follow and that like posts like motivational stuff and inspirational things and educational things. You want to get educated on this stuff and become aware. Once you become aware, then you can say, all right, well, this is what I need to kind of do and this is what I need to look towards. But yeah, I mean, I think initially is just to don't don't fill your mind with like a lot of just crap. Just take that step. whatever it is for you, whatever that step is. If it's making a phone call to a therapist, if it's logging on to YouTube and finding a TED talk, if it's just doing a lookup on anxiety, and finding out certain things, and how it feels in your body, and how it affects your thoughts and decisions, any of that stuff. Just learn and be open. I think be willing, and again, just start the process. Just start it, and you can pause if you need a pause. Just don't give up. Take that step. Take that step forward, and if you need a break, take a break. But any progress that you made previous doesn't go away, so you can pick back up right where you left off and just keep moving forward.
Look, folks, go check out Above Ground Podcast. Go check out Tim's book. It's on Amazon. If you're local here in the capital region, you can find it. We'll get Tim's personal home address, and you can walk down to his door, and he'll sign it for you. And the other thing is if you really are struggling and you're trying to get some help, and look, we live in a very modern age. A lot of people I don't think know this. You can dial 988 now. So that is no longer, we have the 411 used to be information, 911 used to be emergency. You can dial 988, and that is a 24-hour suicide hotline that I think where a lot of us make our mistake is you don't just have to be suicidal to call those numbers.
Yeah, you don't have to be in crisis. You can have, you could be struggling with something, or you can just be proactive and call. And if you need to talk to somebody, there's somebody there.
Right.
And let me just say this really quick about suicide ideation: is there is active and there's passive. So there's two different kinds. So suicidal ideation as itself, if it's passive, it's kind of a thought comes and thought goes. It's what we place on those thoughts. It's what we put judgments on and say, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I'm bad for feeling this. No, don't do that. Just say it's a passive thought. And yes, you want to talk to someone. If it's an active thought, that means you have a plan in place and you are determined or ready, whatever you want to call it. And, call 988. Definitely. There's AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They offer stuff. I know NAMI has some peer classes and groups that might be online or something like that. There is stuff out there. There really is.
And you could reach out to me. I'll put you in contact with somebody. Worst case scenario, reach out to Tim. Either one of us will put you in contact
Absolutely,
with
man.
somebody.
Thank you, Sean.
We have no problem. Look, I might be an asshole most days on here and say silly ass stuff, but I have no problem. I do have a heart. It's kind of like the Grinches sometimes, I get told, but it's there. And look, folks, as we get ready to close the bar up, if you're finding me through Tim or Tim through me, I cannot stress to you the value that we put in you going on our social media like Instagram, like Facebook, and giving us a like, giving us a follow, giving us a share, going on to our podcast, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, Podbean. I don't care if it's your grandmother's transistor radio and you got to scratch a check mark in the side of the thing. Wherever you put that at and you give us that positive feedback, that increases Tim's dopamine, my dopamine. It helps keep us. That's so horrible. But seriously, it does a lot for us. It really gets this message. You think it's silly, but it gets this message to other people. It's how the algorithms work. It's how the algorithms see us all. They only see that you made comments. There's 7 of you watching live right now. We got up to 9. The 9 of you that were watching, I promise you that the algorithm sees that and goes, hey, we should probably feed this to some other people, even without them knowing that we're going to feed this to them, so that they see it and it gets the message out. It gets Tim's message out. It gets people to understand what we've got going on. If you want to reach out to me, it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, everything. Look, Nate got a free DVD out of it. anything and everything we got going on. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. Reach out. Let us know what you got going on, what you got happening. Now, we have, because I know you've listened, like I said before, to all 180 some episodes, Tim. So you know it's about to come here. At the end of every episode, the guest, and and I always say this, don't log off on me. I have to say that because I've had like 2 guests early on that, like, as soon as I did the close, they just disappeared on me. I was like, and I had to like come back so we can talk for a minute. But the guest always gets the final word. So what's the final word for us, Tim?
Stay above.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.